Welcome back to the Rising Podcast. I'm Xavier, you're joined here with Karina and Kanan, Black Person of the Day.
Of course, let me go first. You feel
On a serious note, it is good to see you guys this week. We did. It was important for me to. It was important for us to come together. I feel like there's a lot of things going on, just in the world in general. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things pertaining our people that's going on in this country right now, and I think it's important that we always highlight those kind of things. Like when we started this platform, we wanted to highlight and talk about some of these more serious things that are plaguing our people. These are real statistics and real things that happen to black people on a day-to-day basis. There's no reason why more black people should be dying on death row. There should be no reason why the numbers are staggering as far as how many black people are on death row, how many people are innocent on death row. It's literally crazy how many people, what the incarceration rate for black people are, and the reasons white people have to justify those numbers. Black people aren't inherently more violent than white people, but that would be the justification that they will give for these statistics. So
right,
this week was a very hard week for me. I know it was probably a very hard week for you guys. There was a story that I saw. I want to say I saw this it may have been at least 2 weeks when I first heard Marcellus's name. Marcellus Williams was executed this week in the state of Missouri. He was on death row. This is actually after two times where they pushed that date back. The third time, he was not as fortunate to get that date pushed back, to have that case re-looked at, re-examined for something that he was convicted for in 1998. So this is why it's been such a hard week for me, because I had expectations that there was going to be a ram in the bush for him. There was going to be somebody that was going to vouch for him, that was going to put pressure on the governor to do something, and that didn't happen. So let me read this little excerpt right here, and then we can talk about it. Marcellus Williams was executed by lethal injection in Missouri on September 24th, 2024, for the 1998 murder of Leisha Gale. Despite significant doubts about his guilt, DNA evidence did not link Williams to the crime, and 2 unidentified DNA profiles were found. Supporters, including the St. Louis prosecutor, argued for clemency, citing these uncertainties. However, the U.S. Supreme Court and Missouri's governor denied appeals to halt the execution. Williams' case highlighted ongoing debates about wrongful convictions and the use of capital punishment. So we all know that this is not something that's in all states. It's not something that is around the United States in its entirety, but it's still a problem. And innocent life here and innocent life there should all matter. So I just want to give y'all the floor, and kind of y'all can just talk about y'all week, how y'all felt, and anything y'all want to say.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I can go first in regards to, my prayers and thoughts, of course, goes out to his family, first and
1000%.
foremost. Reading his last words, which I believe was like, all praise be to Allah, because I guess during the time he was incarcerated, he decided to transition and convert to being a Muslim, and found a lot of peace with his God. His son has, in the face of everything, has stood as a advocate and voice for his father. All of that to say, I think it just, to your point, as we're thinking about discussions, we're thinking about changes in this country, and we think about the death penalty, and as you already kind of hinted at in regards to the people who are subject to the death penalty at higher rates than others, which happens to be people of color, Black people specifically, and just understanding like the lack of course, evidence, the looking at, eyewitness testimony, which, from Emmett Till to this, isn't credible. All of that to say, of course, thoughts and prayers, as I mentioned before, with his family. And I just hope the country could do better. But when you say Missouri, when I think about the demographics, when I think about those in power, it's like this is going to take a long time. It's going to take people to really wake up. It's going to take, again, like for these conversations to occur to really see the change that we need. And I think it's just a day where, as we're looking at as far as being Black in America, and just the systems that we continuously say are against us, continuously say are put in place to, if it is to execute Black bodies, this is just another example of that. So it's just a lot. And I saw about it recently, but the fact that, they didn't have the data, the family of the victim basically said themselves that there's not enough data to execute him, and then for them to proceed, I don't know, like, what to think at this point. Like, was it ego? Was it, we have to make sure our system is justified in who we have arrested and, what we put in place? But like I was saying before in our first take, it's just crazy to me to think that, like, again, someone, even if this is obviously not the case, but to take someone's life, it's kind of like, when do you become the final say? And I just think, of course, the death penalty is just too extreme in certain cases. It's like, I don't know, I think I'm a little bit more, my view of it is a little bit different, because I just still think, like, with the death penalty, again, like, someone took someone's life, why would you choose to take theirs? I just think, like, again, like, rehabilitation or having a life without parole, like, like, sit there and think about what you've done. I mean, obviously not in this case, obviously, but with the other cases, like, sit there and think about it. Think about the families, think about the victims and stuff like that. And I think in this case, everyone who was involved in Mr. Williams' execution is going to be thinking about why they didn't speak up, why they didn't stop it, why they didn't say anything when they know for a fact that evidence just wasn't there.
Right. And the family of the prosecution or the victim, they didn't even attend the execution. As you mentioned, the prosecutor, defense, the attorneys, the victim's family all urged the mayor and the judge for clemency, not even saying that they want him to be free, but just saying that we don't believe there's enough information for him to be executed. Can you give us more time for us to find any information, maybe to allow this to go through or to prove that he is fully innocent? And the mayor before Mike Parson, the mayor of Missouri, was giving them that extent. But when Mike Parson came in, he really just said, nah, we're going to go through with this. Yeah. So it really did start to seem like an abuse of power when you have the prosecutor and the victim's family telling you, we want this clemency. We don't feel like there's enough information for him to be executed. Who is this justice system really working for at the end of the day? It doesn't seem like the family was given any solace or any justice by this. They don't believe that the person who killed their daughter was tried. They now feel that they are responsible for helping take an innocent life. So it's just a gross misuse of power. We are really a sick country, just sick in the fucking head. And what do you really expect from some just people who haven't proven to be anything other than some ignorant, bloodthirsty, racist murderers? And that's just really what we are. That's what this country was built on. So when we have these situations, it's hard to feel anything else but kind of just being expected. Mm-hmm. This isn't a new situation, unfortunately. This is something that happens on the daily basis. I'm glad through the Innocence Project they were able to get a lot of traction, a lot of media coverage with this case. I did hear about this maybe about 3 weeks ago, and I was very consistent, very adamant about posting any media, any articles I seen on the case, urging people to sign petitions, urging people to donate to Marcellus's GoFundMe or to any programs to the Innocent Project, just trying to get people to understand that Marcellus isn't the first one that this has happened to. Let's try our best to make sure we can save him and eradicate anything like this happening again. Unfortunately, on September 24th, as you mentioned, he was executed, and it leaves people thinking just worse about the justice system.
Yeah.
No justice was served, no solace was given to this family, and as we mentioned, unfortunately, according to some numbers for the Innocent Project, about 4% of people on death row are proven to be innocent or don't have enough evidence against them to show that they are guilty, but they are still on death row. And out of that 4%, about 53% of them are black. We know black people take up the vast majority of people who are exonerated for their crimes. So that lets us know that black people are initially targeted and placed in these prisons, holding cells, and for no reason.
Right.
So when we look at the death penalty, we know that it's not in every state. But when we look at the states that do allow the death penalty, we look at the number of their incarcerated. We need to start doing a little bit more critical thinking when it comes to these situations. There is always a intent and a mission behind everything. Get up out of here. What is the reason why black people are locked up, imprisoned proportionally, and placed on death row? There's just more that we need to start thinking about, more that we have to, unfortunately, have no choice but to think about as we come to terms with this election season. This country really can only go in two directions. We seem to be getting more and more radical by every year. So, unfortunately, with all the media coverage, with all the people power protesting and showing that we stand with Marcellus Williams, we were once again failed by this justice system. So I don't want to use this as a time to be like, yeah, vote, because again, voting isn't going to save you at the end of the day. It's just another tool we can use to get the people that we want to have the ability to bring about any change. But that voting is not going to save you at the end of the day. It is standing with those in your community and realizing that we have to be the ones that supplement this program or this information that we are not going to get from those in power. And I hate to get super radical on you, but situations like this really open your eyes to how fucked up this country is, to just let something like that happen. And not just let it happen, it didn't slide under no rug.
Right.
This was incredible amount of media coverage.
Right.
Everybody in this whole country knows what happens.
Yeah.
And Mike Parsons thinks he's just going to get away with it. Like, it was just another day in the office for him. And a lot of these politicians think that they can just tell us one thing or completely ignore what we are saying, but it's okay because we're still going to vote for them. When we vote for these people, when we vote for Kamala, even though we may not agree with everything she's saying, we vote for her because we know the likelihood that this country will be in a better predicament is vastly greater than if it was under Trump. But we don't stop with just that vote. We vote, then we go out there and we force these people to stand on their word. Right. You have to be consistent. Your words and your actions have to mesh. If you just give me lip service and then out here doing fuckery, that's how people lose any sense of trust in this country. Right. And it's like they're trying to force us to be like, oh nah, nigga, we gonna have to step up. And I just pray for the day that people finally had enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I never know when that day is gonna come. And it's funny what America.
It's not gonna come. You saw Facebook just premiered those new glasses that allow you to basically like a VR, but it's only glasses. Complacency is a hell of a drug, bro.
And that's exactly where I was going. I'm glad you said that, because it's funny how America does you. You know, we have enough things here to distract us from what really goes on, and you can see throughout our history, like there's been moments where we've been very, very, very angry at the government, how they do certain things, and we get something, and then there's a distraction, and we're not as motivated to still press them and be on, like give them the urge to still do what needs to be done. Like, we get one thing, we're satisfied. One shooting happens, there's a hashtag, and then we go back to doing our lives, which people's lives are hard. People do have to work and try to supply for their families, and there's a lot of things that can distract us, but America is a country of complacency in a way that if I have enough stuff that can distract me, I'm good. If I have enough stuff that can distract me and my family, and I know my inner circle is good, then I'm good. But guess what? In America, when you're black, when I'm black, what happens to you, no matter how much money you have, no matter how much stuff you got in your house, when you're on the side of the road with that cop, when you're facing a count when you didn't even do something, this can all happen to anybody, no matter if you got millions of dollars in the bank or you got $5 in the bank. Tyreek Hill just got his ass slammed on the damn floor like he was a regular person.
On the way to a game. Right in front of the stadium. Them knowing he's a Miami Dolphin, making $30 million a year, and that's how he still is treated. So you guys have to understand that it's not, we have to be like this super, like we just have to be together as a people, but we don't have to be this super like, oh, let's not let this other race do this, and let's not let this other race do that. But we have to be together as a unit, as a black unit, because we're the only ones that honestly care about us. Right, and they show us that with their actions as well.
Right.
And like you said, it doesn't matter if you're black and you're rich, you're black and you're educated, or you're black and you're poor. It don't even matter if you're a Jamaican or Haitian. When they look at you, you are black. And black is the epitome of nothing.
The lowest class that you could be.
Yeah, it's like there is in this country really nothing less you can be than a black person. And they show us this with their laws and with their policies, their actions, things they let the police get away with, things they let their judges get away with. They show the value that they place on black life. And like we have to, like I mentioned, with programs in our communities, we have to be that supplement. We know we're not going to get any value for our life from the government. We have to place that value on ourselves and on our community members. So it really is important that we do come together. Not saying we have to be super homogenous, I have to agree on every single thing.
Right.
But that one thing in our culture that has helped us since slavery, which really wasn't that long ago, but has helped us since slavery come together and bring some type of fighting force, is the acknowledgement that because we are black, because we have black features, we are going to be treated a certain way. We're going to have a harder time having access to certain resources, programs, and financial outcomes. So it is our job as a community to allow grace within our community and allow opportunities within intermingling, interconnecting between black people. And a lot of times I feel like we get so trapped in this rat race of just having to live in a hyper-capitalist society that surviving in a sense is a competition. We feel like there can't be too many of us at the top. They don't want us here in the first place. So there can't be too many of us at this junction. So it breeds a lot of competition, which can be good and it can be bad, just depending on how that energy is delegated. Right. But overall, we just really need to start seeing the value in each other and come together to build the communities that we want to see. We can't expect nothing from this government. They ain't finna give us nothing. Right. We got to build this ourselves.
Right. And it's a complete freaking, for lack of a better word, mind fuck kind of being a black person in America. We see certain images of entertainers and things that kind of really don't matter and have power have a spotlight in America, but when it comes to decision making and being in positions of power that really matter, we don't see that as much and as often in black roles. So I want to ask you guys, how do you continue to navigate? How do you continue to keep yourself motivated? How do you continue to just carry on when you see images of a black person being shot by the police, when you see images of more black people incarcerated and we're only 13-14% of the population, when you see certain inconsistencies and systematic things that plague black people? How do we continue as a people? How do you guys continue as a people? How do y'all see that and then continue to do what you need to do and be on your path?
I mean, there really ain't nothing else you can do. Like, black people got to be that shark. If a shark ever stops swimming, it's going to die. You just got to keep moving forward, building your past and learning from your experiences, learning what areas you can excel in or how to excel in certain areas, but understanding that there is always going to be a quote-unquote, lack of better words, target on your back, just 100%. For the simple fact of existing. So everything you do has to be with caution, but at the same time, you don't ever let these figures and powers stop you from really channeling what it is that you want to do. Yeah, there's going to be obstacles. Yeah, it's going to be tough, but they want these obstacles and their racism to stop you from even wanting to try.
And at that point, they win.
Yeah, and at that point, they win. So the biggest thing we can do is continue to do what black people do is best and use these hard times and tribulations to bring about something great. A lot of the times, the great things that we do bring from these hard times, like rap music, can start off great but eventually be corrupted. But still, that is our job to gatekeep. Everybody can't be here.
And I think, to build off of what you just shared, Xavier, for me, I just think that, I'm just more connected in regards to, again, I feel like I'm more of a spiritual person. The quote that we always hear is like, "I'm my ancestors' wildest dreams." I think about that. I think about the times when it was back in the day, our great-great-grandmas, great-great-grandpas, and the amount of black people without names that we don't know who have been victims to this unjust racist system. And I think about where we're at today. I think about the advances we have made, and I also think about how far we can go when it comes to America that was built on the backs of our people. Just understanding that it's still our people who's going to bring America its own, I want to say salvation. I don't know the best words to put it, but I think from our voices empowering each other and becoming educated and coming more together as a community, then we're going to see the real fruits that American can bring, I guess you could say, to black people. And when things like this happen, I just think about the fact that as a people, we need to come closer. We need to support one another. We need to figure out how can we make strategic changes to the system, and what changes can we bring to help, as you already mentioned, to empower others. Like, yeah, sharks keep swimming, but really, I guess I'm thinking of orcas, I guess, is the other good analogy, because they thrive in packs. They're very social beings, but they're also some of the craziest beasts in the fucking water at that. And I just think that every lost soul, every black person, we have a story about what they've been through. Our struggles is something that a lot of people are desensitized to, where we're desensitized to, but it's also about understanding the system, how it's set against us, but also understanding how we can help and empower not only ourselves, but the next person. And so that's really what I think about. But in reality, I think, was it Obama? I'm trying to think who said it. It was just like, you see America's nightmare, but I see the dream of like America, and I see what America can be when we do come together and when we force people to listen and when we do, advocate for these changes. But I think right now, even though we have access to, in the internet, we have people speaking about certain inequities, it's going to take more than that. It's going to take, as I've been mentioning on this podcast, time and time again, it's going to take that community, and that begins with you and me, building that out. And I just think that's just the reality.
Optimism
I'm very optimistic about it.
Sound of Blackness, optimistic.
I'm extremely optimistic about it because we had our black president, we have Kamala coming in, and I think people say, like, you know, on the very front value, okay, that's one thing, but I think it's just so empowering just to see when you can see yourself in that position and how much changes I can bring. But I am always optimistic because I think things don't happen to us. I think things happen for us, and I just think, you know, at the end of the day, if we want to take the radical route, are we in a position as a people to take that radical route, take all of our resources? Unfortunately, I don't think we are. So until we're to that point, I just think it's about making the system better.
Yeah, like it's always important to stay optimistic, and sometimes you gotta unwind. Sometimes you gotta desensitize yourself from all the crazy stuff you see, because you turn on that Twitter app, Instagram, scroll on social media, you'll see something you don't like. So always disconnect from the things that don't feel and set right with your spirit. But we want to just say rest in peace again to Marcellus Williams. Condolences and prayers to his family, and condolences to the black community. Hopefully we just keep the fight on.
Of course.
And like I said, stay optimistic, and only God can save us in this country.
Somebody got to be optimistic. I guess I'm the opposite. What do they call that? An existentialist or something like that?
I get what you're saying, but I mean, even in his final words, I didn't speak on that as far as religion and our beliefs, as far as taking us forward. Because I just think how much pain and how much injustices black people have experienced. I just think it's a certain beauty that people haven't tapped in without understanding how much anger and resentment and outrage that can cause, but instead black people continuously love in such a way, as far as saying, like, let's do differently, let's look at this differently, let's try to invest, let's try to teach people, like, let's try to move forward. And I mean, to your point, you could be like that. I just feel like, you know, from what I know and what I see, like, it takes a while. But I mean, do we have a time back in the civil rights era where we could have been in a place where black people radically changed this country, and then the FBI kind of came in and, you know, killed a lot of black leaders? 110%. And where we're at now, I just don't think with, you know, the black diaspora, we're just not on the same page to achieve the changes that you wish that we will achieve. And to me, that's just a fact. And I just think, you know, with that take consideration, you could be pessimistic or not seeing it, or you can look at the changes and the wins that we are making. But then that goes back to the whole, like, I guess the whole entire debate in the black community, like, how slow is change?
Right. And
that's, you know, that's just been the ongoing debate.
Unfortunately, with this change, it's not just a step forward, 2 steps forward, 3 steps forward. It's going to be those 2 steps forward, 3 steps back.
Yeah.
So we're always going to be fighting to get over that hump. But some of his last words, I like that you mentioned, all praise to Allah. He also did
in every situation,
because he also did another interview before that, and they kind of asked, like, where's his head at? How are you feeling? And he responded something like, if the Lord wants me to live, I'll live. If he wants me to come home, he wants me to come home. So whatever he decides, that's his will. The Lord called him home, so we continue to fight for all of us that are still here. Blam gives him another rest in peace. Came and also mentioned just prayers and thoughts to the black community as a whole. Unfortunately, this isn't the first time a situation like this has occurred, but seeing how big and how much coverage he was able to spread during this time, hopefully we have that more information and vigor within the community to keep that fight going. So rest in peace, Marcellus Williams.
Yeah, and thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the Rising